Hey everyone, and welcome in. My name is Tolu, and on this channel I make faith-based videos to encourage you as you fight the good fight of the faith daily. Today's video is actually going to be part 2 to the last video I filmed in response to a comment I got asking me to share from my experience on what it looks like to shine your light and share the gospel, especially in secular environments. If you missed that video, I shared some practical ways on how you can share the gospel in your day-to-day lives, so be sure to check it out. I'll leave it linked in the description box below. Today, I'm going to be sharing from my personal experience on what it means and looks like to shine your light in our current culture. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. To start off, I want to read Matthew chapter 5, verse 44, which says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." Now, to give you a little context on this passage and kind of help set the stage. So Jesus has just begun his ministry, and he has quickly attracted many people's attention through his message and his various acts of healing. He ends up going to the top of a mountain to address not only his disciples but now these large crowds and deliver what we now know to be the Sermon on the Mount. This sermon basically draws out what it means to be a true Christian and what it would require to be blessed and to see the kingdom of God. He says things like, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Which, when you consider these statements, they're pretty contrary to what we would naturally believe. Like we wouldn't consider someone who's poor in spirit or who's mourning to be blessed, But that's the thing about Jesus. He preached a very countercultural, upside down message, which if you keep reading after this passage, you'll find that his whole ministry was full of statements like this. But it's after this sermon that Jesus calls his disciples and the crowds the lights of the world, and he encourages them to let their light shine before others. Now, I want to jump to John chapter 8 and read verse 12, where Jesus says, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." So now from this passage, we see, okay, so it's actually Jesus that is the light of the world. And so when he calls the disciples and the crowds the lights of the world in Matthew, it's because they would be his followers. And as we just read in this passage, those who follow him will have the light of life. And now I know a natural follow-up question to this would be, okay, well, so what does it mean to follow Jesus? I looked up the word follower on Google, and it's defined as an adherent or devotee of a particular person, cause, or activity. Another example says a person who moves or travels behind someone or something. And so basically, to have been a follower of Jesus back in his time meant that you were, following behind him and devoted to him and adhering to his way of life and his teachings. I love the verse in Luke chapter 6, verse 46, which says, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you?" Or in other words, I feel like Jesus is saying, why do you even say I have authority in your life? Or why do you even say you're my follower when you don't even follow my teachings or practice what I preach? And so this means that for those of us who do desire to be followers of Jesus in this present day and desire to have the light of life shining in and through us, it's going to require us to live our lives in line with the way Jesus calls us to live. And in my opinion, it actually makes so much sense how us living our lives in line with how God calls us to live would actually equal us shining our lights in this world. Because in the same way that Jesus was calling his disciples to live in a way that was completely countercultural to their time, it's even more so countercultural to the culture that we live in today in 2023. Like when Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 44, that we should, love our enemies and that we should pray for those who persecute us. That is just not the way that people operate nowadays. Like nowadays, everybody, myself included sometimes, is always ready to square up, to cuss somebody out if they, so much as cut them off in traffic, you know? So do you see how, you know, if we were to truly align our lives to the way that Jesus calls us to live, how that has the potential to shine a light where there would otherwise be darkness? And of course, the caveat to this would be that we would actually have to know, you know, how Jesus calls us to live in order to be able to shine his light. And that will require us to know his word, which if you haven't made it a habit of, you know, regularly getting into his word, I want to encourage you to do so. Even if that means, you know, just reading a verse a day. This is the only way we'll know how Jesus calls us to live, how we'll become his true followers and shine his light. I hope that this video encouraged you, but also challenged you a little. I know that shining a light is something that daily challenges me in my walk with God as I struggle with, you know, either following what he said or following what I know to be the world's culture. So just know that this video is for you just as much as it is for me too, okay? Be sure to leave any questions in the comments below that I can help clarify, and maybe share one way that you feel you shine your light in your community. We would love to hear it. Until next time, let's keep fighting the good fight of the faith, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!